While the silent majority name fits this alliance of Kyle, Michael, Brittany, and Alyssa because of the racism involved, I've also thought of an alternative name for it. And it's a reboot of a movie I might pitch when I get back to California in a few days. The alliance is also the Human Centipede.
What are you doing to us?
There we go! Yeah! The lips from B and C, and the aims of A and B.
To start off this new Human Centipede, the first person in line is Alyssa. You might think Kyle is the head of this alliance, but no, this whole idea was meant to protect Alyssa. So Alyssa starts off the Human Centipede, and right behind Alyssa in line, taking in all of her shit, is Kyle. Kyle takes all of the heat for Alyssa within this alliance, even if it's not necessarily great for his game, even if it could eventually make it so bad that if they're on the block together, he might go home over her. Next in line of this new Human Centipede Alliance is Michael. Michael takes on both Alyssa and Kyle's shit, but he is behind Kyle because he listens to all of Kyle says. Even if it involves race, even if it starts a race war, Michael is right there to listen. Kyle plays the fuck out of Michael in this alliance because he already throws Michael's and Brittany's names under the bus and every chance he gets. Michael thinks he's playing Kyle because Michael thinks he's way better than he actually is, but instead Michael is actually eating Kyle's shit within this alliance. And last in line for the Human Centipede Alliance is, of course, Brittany, because Brittany eats all of Michael's shit. Brittany does things that she knows isn't best for her game, but is best for Michael's, but she does it anyway to appease Michael. Even if it makes Brittany on the bottom of this alliance, if it were to go that way, at the bottom of either alliance now, the way things seem to be going, Brittany takes all of their shit. This is the order of the new Human Centipede Alliance. Alyssa starts it off so Kyle can protect her, and so Kyle can have 10 seconds of pussy. And it goes from Alyssa to Kyle to Michael, who takes all of Kyle's shit, and Kyle throws him under the bus, and then Brittany on the bottom. Well, a quick update on the Big Brother 24 feeds. Probably not going to be able to make another video for a few days until I get back home. So I probably won't be back until the weekend at some point. So we'll have to see what I think about the twist whenever it happens. The twist being this split house, supposedly. I don't exactly know how it works. I know there's alleged spoilers that half of the house is going to be inside, half of the house is going to be outside. I don't know how the half's going to be outside. I don't know how they're going to have a DR outside. If this is going to be like Survivor where they're both split up with no contact, it's going to be hard to pull off. But very interesting if they do that. For me, I really hope somehow, some way, Kyle or Michael need to go, because that's the only way this race war gets stopped in its tracks before continuing to try and evolve. Obviously, Kyle going is the biggest way to get it to stop, but I'm not very certain production is going to let Kyle go because they just love him. They love them some Kyle. He was talking to the cams again tonight. Obviously got a warning from production or something, because earlier today his old Twitter was found in an old tweet from one of his friends using the N-word basically came out, and suddenly Kyle's talking to the cams.
I hope I'm not coming across as a jerk. Like, I hope I haven't said anything too bad to get canceled. I feel bad for a lot of the things I've said. I don't know.
Kyle trying to fix his image already, and yet in the same tangent going off about his fucking race war again. And much like when Nicole was talking shit about Taylor, Kyle's upstairs calling Taylor vindictive while she's downstairs saying good things about Kyle.
I hope Kyle's okay. I hope he's okay.
Kyle's bigotry, it really just knows no bounds here. And I still get some comments. If you're going to leave dumb comments, please think to yourself first. Am I about to sound as dumb as Kyle or Alyssa or Nicole or Daniel or Michael or Brittany before I post this comment? Because I'd rather, if it's going to be a dumb comment, I'd rather not read it. You could give me negative comments. I'll just probably ignore you, but just don't leave me dumb comments about how there was the cookout last year. There was the same thing happening. I don't know how many times I have to explain. I have to be repetitive, but Big Brother's so repetitive with all of its problems that of course I have to be repetitive. But the cookout was a response for the years and years and seasons of all white alliances that were just a bunch of white people, and the black players, as few as there were usually one of the first people out, or targeted early, or just had no shot of having an alliance because of the all-white alliance. And Kyle's reasoning doesn't even make sense. If he was really concerned about the cookout, last season it was all the black players, but this season Kyle's lumping in Joseph and Indy as well, who are not black. Kyle's bigotry just lumps all the minorities in together. But anyway, back to the twist. I don't know if production's going to let go of Kyle. I highly doubt we'll still see edits of all his problematic behavior. They've been editing Kyle as the white savior this season when he's been problematic, but they just keep making him the golden boy of the episodes. So I would not be surprised if nothing changes and Kyle still gets this super positive edit, the most positive edit on the show, despite creating the horrible dynamics going on in feeds these days. It's very saturated back in negativity. I mean, the whole season's been pretty negative, but it's negative again. Anyway, for the twist, I hope Michael and Brittany are separated. I won't have to hear them talk to each other for a week. That would bring me so much joy. If Michael and Brittany are separated in groups next week and one of them goes home, for the first time ever on this channel, I will give Grodner credit for a successful twist. I will give the twist credit. I will give Grodner credit if Brittany and Michael are separated and one of them goes home. That's the only way I will give her credit. Kyle wasn't the only one production gave a talking to. They also gave a talking to Michael and Brittany.
And just also, I know we started to kind of say this, the leftover split, like the way we're thinking, I just really am not comfortable with the optics of that. Same. Because we know it doesn't mean what it looks like. We know that in our hearts. But I don't want it. I feel the exact back out in the world.
Michael and Brittany trying to save face. If they weren't having these bad of actions, why would production have to talk to them about it? And how come Kyle is already talking to the cameras about how his image, he wants his image to be okay, hopes is not canceled, on the same night that Michael and Brittany, after the last few days of going the complete opposite direction, out of nowhere are talking about the optics of the situation again and how uncomfortable they are.
I feel the exact same way. You were out at the hammock when Kyle said, I don't think so. Basically saying about how, Taylor said she wouldn't put up Jasmine because she doesn't want to send a black woman home. And Kyle's like, well, as a straight white male, that makes me nervous if game decisions are being made off of. And I'm just like, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Calling Michael out on his bullshit because Michael went to Kyle to tell him his reasoning to Taylor should be that the situation of Kyle wanting to not use the veto on Alyssa is the same as Taylor not wanting to nominate Jasmine, a black woman. So Michael's full of shit here with that example because he played into that and made Kyle use that in a discussion with Taylor. Also Michael here trying to use his sexuality as a defense, saying, oh, Kyle's straight white male. It doesn't save Michael here. Also, Michael and Brittany's solution here, not really great. They're clearly just care about the optics because their solution is to bring in Terrence as the token black person into their alliance with Kyle and Alyssa, something that probably won't work. Anyway, just a lot of performative bullshit here. I will say, I will be more lenient on Brittany because up until a few days ago, she was trying to dodge this alliance and push back on Michael about some of it, especially during his HOH week. But Michael has been totally on board since his first conversation with Kyle. Michael gets nothing out of me. I don't give a fuck what Kyle and Michael do for the rest of the season. They are what they are. And the truth is, they could be worried for all the optics suddenly out of nowhere, even though they were all going along with this very hardcore the past few days. And now suddenly they want to maybe take Taylor to the end again after throwing her under the bus for 3 days straight. But the truth is, because of Michael and Brittany's terrible social games, they actually need Taylor more than Taylor needs them. Because Taylor has actually fixed her social game this week for the most part. Still many problems. But Michael and Brittany have not. Their social games continue to be the thing that drags them down. Taylor also stays having some pretty abysmal reads on the house. You know, she thinks she's still close to Michael and Brittany, even though all the hits in the world have been dropped that they're playing both sides. Kyle has thrown Brittany and Michael under the bus like 3 times over the past 2 days about how they were telling him something different than telling Taylor. I don't know if Taylor picked up on that as much as Joseph, maybe a little, but they both have the reads that they trust Michael and Brittany. That's the one thing Michael and Brittany are doing okay as. Everything else is a fucking mess for their game. I think if Monty would be able to know more of this information, I think Monty would have a better read than Taylor and Joseph have on the situation. I think Monty's reads are also kind of underrated. I think Monty, however, doesn't play as hard as a lot of these other players are playing, which could be good. I mean, it would be better if Monty didn't have this gigantic target on his back from his HOH week, because he kind of just became the big shield for the leftovers. And now, because of that, that's why the only reason his game is in super danger. Because other than that, he does a pretty good job of sinking under the radar because he only plays for like a few hours a day. He only talks game for a few hours a day, at most. Now, back to Michael and Brittany, who are just the worst kind of game bots, who have nothing going on for them except going over a bunch of scenarios. I mean, Michael has comp wins going on for him, but Brittany doesn't have a whole lot else going on for her. I know certain other game bots apparently think Brittany's playing this great game right now, that she's positioning herself well to possibly win the game if she makes the end, that Brittany could beat Taylor in the end. I doubt it. I think Brittany's best bet to win at this point is to get to the end with Indy, or whoever stays between Indy and Terrence, or maybe get to the end with Jasmine. I think she could beat them. I think getting to the end with Taylor would be very close. But Brittany can't beat anybody else. Unless it's like a super fucking bitter jury, I suppose, which Kyle is probably setting himself up for the way he's been playing this week. But Brittany continues to make moves that put her on the bottom of everything. And I don't think anybody will respect that with this cast as it is, because I don't think a lot of this cast respects the women's players anyway. And I don't think Brittany would deserve it anyway if she did make the end of the way she's playing this week. Anybody that's watched any of my Survivor podcasts, I will always talk about how women get no credit when they make the end, and they usually deserve it. Not always, but usually. I don't think Brittany deserves a lot of credit right now if she makes the end, because she's done nothing but kind of go along with Michael. That's the way it looks to the social game of anybody, because they're the clear duo in the house besides Alyssa and Kyle, although these two white duos will call out Joseph and Taylor as a duo, of course. But also, just it always comes down to social games, and game bots just never want to talk about social games, even though it's the most important thing in the goddamn game consistently, but they like to just ignore it. Michael and Brittany don't know how to make connections to save their lives. They just don't have it in them. Michael is such a cold person that I've rarely seen Michael have personal conversations with anybody this season. He will awkwardly stare in conversations. Sure, that gets info, but he doesn't know how to use it because he doesn't have the social connections to maneuver around them all. But Brittany tries, I think, to have more of a social game. She just sucks at it. And I don't think anybody truly likes her. I don't think a lot of people truly respect her. And then she goes and consistently throws Taylor under the bus. And besides Michael, Taylor's the only person that actually likes Brittany. I just don't understand Brittany's game. It's just too sloppy. I see her thought process, but because of her spirals and because she changes her mind so often, it makes her game extremely sloppy. Kyle does not respect Brittany. And honestly, Michael doesn't either, like we talked about yesterday. She has good reads and Michael never listens to him. Kyle, there's been so many conversations over the past 3 weeks that he's been trying to build this race war, that he has said with Brittany in the room that if they bring in Alyssa, it's going to be good for Kyle's game, Michael's game, and Turner's game. But he rarely actually mentions Brittany's name, but she goes along with it anyway. Kyle has pitched the silent majority alliance to Turner about 3 times over the past 24 hours. And Turner just never goes for it because Turner is staying strong in his stance. Unlike Michael and Brittany, Turner actually has grown a backbone and will not talk shit about his own alliance members, especially when it seems to be racially motivated. Turner isn't doing it. Turner, who is younger than those losers, Michael and Brittany, actually does seem to have some assertiveness in him despite him being chill. And I think Turner just actually knows himself, something I don't think Brittany does. Brittany does not know herself at her big age. She has yet to find herself because of all of her many insecurities. But Turner, thankfully for now at least, stays shutting down the racist alliance from taking over completely. At least there is one white player actually trying to play a actual social game that makes sense. Because even Kyle's social game doesn't make a lot of sense to me. He was in a good spot in the leftovers. He has the pound. He has Alyssa. He has all these connections to fall back on. A reason why he's playing the fuck out of Brittany and Michael, because they have nothing to fall back on except for Taylor, who they continue to throw under the bus. Taylor, however, has terrible reads on that situation, so they're lucky in that regard. They're not good players because of that. They're just lucky. But Kyle's out playing the racism in the game that they're trying to play. Like, that's the thing. Kyle's an expert right now using the racist gameplay because he's able to fall back on a lot of things because he built up his social game so well in the first place. That's why Michael and Brittany falling for it just look like fools. They don't have nothing to fall back on. But Turner understands that his position within the leftovers, the further he gets with them, he can play the middle. Just another reason why I think Brittany's week has not been good. Brittany's social game and overall game this week has been a disaster. And Turner, he knows what he's doing. He's chill as hell, and he's mostly a coaster, but it works for him because he understands his position. I just think a lot of the players in this game so far this season have truly lacked an understanding of game IQ in general, but also lack an understanding of their position. Joseph is somebody who doesn't. Joseph has always been playing hard to keep his place in the middle of the game, which is going to get harder for him, I think. But Turner at least knows what he's doing.